Finding the most optimal daily budget to maximize the results for your Facebook ad campaigns is extremely important. If you set it too low, you'll probably not gain enough traction and get enough data coming in to the point where you can actually scale that campaign and make enough money to the point where you can fuel your business with cash flow. On the other side, if you start too high, you'll probably quickly turn unprofitable. And the reason for that is you just haven't warmed up a big enough part of your audience to the point where you can actually convert enough of them at a high enough rate to make up for the money that you're spending on that campaign. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to find your sweet spot and find the most optimal daily budget for your campaign based on some really good data that I have right here in front of me. And I'm also going to give you a free resource that you can use to just plug in your own numbers and find the exact amount you should start out with. And if you are new to the channel, my name is Ole, and over the last 6 years, I've been helping over 20 different businesses all around the world getting much better results for their Facebook and Instagram ads. And this channel is just simply where I share all my lessons and learnings for free with you guys. So if you want to see more videos and content like this, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. So when you're setting up your Facebook ad campaign, you set everything up and you get to the budget and schedule section, and you just can't figure out what to put in as the daily amount that you want to spend. There's a few things you need to be mindful of. Now, as I said in the beginning of this video, if you set it too low, you'll probably not gain enough traction and get enough momentum to actually be able to scale. But if you set it too high, you'll quickly turn unprofitable. So in order to find your sweet spot, there's a few things that we need to be mindful of. Having enough fresh data coming into the ad set is going to be extremely important for how the algorithm actually optimizes and improves the targeting of your ad set and your campaign. So just to show you an example of this is one of my clients' ad accounts. And as you can see, I'm looking at the last 7 days. And this ad set right here that we have running for them is still in the learning phase. So you can see that we only have 13 optimization events since the last significant edit of this ad set. But what we actually need to get out of the learning phase is 50 conversion events, or what they call it here is optimization events, in the last 7-day period. So in this example, we would need 50 purchases in a 7-day period in order to get out of the learning phase. And the reason for that is that we need volume of data. So we need minimum 50 conversion events, because that's going to give the algorithm enough data to figure out who are likely to convert in order to find similar people to the people that actually converted from the ads that we have in this ad set. So we not only need 50 conversion events, but we need them in a 7-day period, so in the last 7 days. So as you can see, the algorithm really values the freshness of the data and not only the amount. Because if it was only about getting 50 conversion events, we could do that in probably a month to 2 months with a very, very small budget. But the problem there is that the first conversions that came in at the beginning of the month, that's so long ago that it's going to be hard to find people that are in the same mind space and have all the similarities 30 days later. So we need 50 conversion events and we need them in a 7-day period minimum. Of course, it's much better to have even more data and more data freshness than that, but that's the bare minimum of being able to get out of the learning phase. So in order to help you find the specific amount that you should actually put into your campaign, I just set up a very simple budget finder and Google Sheets. So if you want to get access to this, just click the link in the description and I'll send it to your inbox. All you need to put in here is your average order value. So the average amount that people spend when you actually get them into your store and the gross margin of that spend. So for an example, let's say every customer on average spend $100 in your store. 50% of that is actually profit. That means the break-even CPA, or the break-even cost per acquisition, is going to be $50. So anytime you spend more than $50, you're starting to lose money. And when you spend less than that, you're essentially profitable, but we don't take into account the fixed cost and the other costs in your business in this example. So you have to be mindful of that as well. And then also under here, we have the target CPA. So the CPA you actually want in order to be profitable enough to the point where you can cover all your fixed expenses and you don't have to worry about spending all your money on Meta and just breaking even every month. So when you're starting your campaign, it's more likely that you will have to actually use the realistic daily spend in order to get out of the learning phase. If you don't already know on average what your CPA is going to be, then it's very likely that you will have to start out with your realistic daily spend from the ad set budget finder here. And the reason for that is you need to invest in some initial data to get it into your account. Your pixel needs to be warmed up and the algorithm needs more data to actually be able to optimize, and you also need to figure out what kind of creatives and offers work for you. That's why I would recommend in this instant, if you're just starting out, to use the realistic daily spend number as your daily budget for the campaign. But if you've already been getting some pretty good results historically and you know that you can get a CPA below your break even pretty consistently, in that instance you can start with the ideal spend number. So this will be the one where you actually focus on hitting that target CPI and you're confident that you will be able to hit that. And in that instance, this will be the amount you need to spend to actually get out of the learning phase. So you can play around with this, but this is just to give you an indicator of where you should aim to set your daily budget when you're starting out. So let's say we want to go with the realistic daily ad spend. I'll just copy it and paste it over in the campaign right here. So just to illustrate to you why it's important to get a lot of data into the ad set. As you can see here, this is one campaign that we have for one client. And as you can see, we were getting very unstable results. In the beginning here, the CPA was getting up and down, very inconsistent. But as you can see over time, as we started to get more data, things are stabilizing. From May 4th and onwards, we have way more stable CPA and also a lot lower and much better results than we had previously. Also, we're getting a lot more volume here, so we're able to scale. This is something that is very important to take into account. The more data you can get into the ad set, the better the optimization process is going to be. But there is a caveat to this, which I'm going to cover next. So if you have an ad set that is in learning limited, or you can see that it's still in the learning phase, there is something you need to consider here, because there's some stuff on the help section from Meta that I actually disagree with. So as you can see on the troubleshoot section for the information about learning limited, they give you a few recommendations of how you can actually improve the performance to get out of the learning limited or the learning phase. The first one they talk about is combining ad sets and campaigns. So simply consolidating in your ad account. So using the budget that you're already spending in your account, but on fewer variables, so that you have a better optimization process per ad set. So my recommendation is actually, for most businesses, unless you are at the very high daily budget, you should probably consolidate it just by having one or maximum 2 campaigns in your ad account. In those campaigns, probably maximum 2 ad sets, nothing more than that. And often you can just use 1 ad set. Another problem that you could be facing is that your audience is just too small. So you're not getting enough people warmed up and you're not converting enough people. So in that case, you might need to expand your audience. But oftentimes this is not the problem that I see in the accounts that I've audited. You can also raise your budget, but this is usually an issue. If you're not hitting your CPA, it's very hard to raise your budget if you're not getting that profitability. So if you just can't spend enough money on your campaign because you're not hitting that CPA goal, what you need to do is pull the levers, which is having the biggest impact on your results, which is number 1, your actual offer. What are you offering people? Can you give a better deal? Can you bundle your products together? Can you frame it in a different way to make it more effective? This is one of the absolute biggest levers. Under that, you have the actual creative. So what people actually see in your ad. So the video, the image, and the text in the ad, the headline, that kind of stuff has a big impact on your results. So make sure you spend a lot of time on figuring out how you can optimize that. There's a bunch of videos and resources out there to figure this out. But my number 1 thing is you're not doing enough testing. You need to test more. You need to do more preparation in terms of research before you actually launch a new test in your ad account. That way you will have a higher probability that you will actually hit your CPA goal as soon as you launch that creative or that new ad. And the last lever to pull outside of your ad account is actually the landing page. So maybe you're getting enough traffic, but you're just not converting enough of them. Maybe your conversion rate is 1 or lower. You need to at least have a 2.5 to 3% conversion rate for most businesses. Obviously, that really does depend on what you're selling, how expensive it is, and what your margin on that product is. If you have a really expensive product with a high margin, you could probably afford to have a pretty low conversion rate. But let's say, for example, you run an e-commerce business, you need to at least have a 2 to 3% conversion rate at the minimum in order to stay profitable, depending on the CPM level in the audience that you're targeting. So the next thing they're talking about in the section here is that you can actually raise your bid or cost control. So if you're using cost control bid strategies, such as cost cap, which is now referred to as cost per sold goal or the ROAS goal, then you can essentially increase the CPA goal or the cost per sold goal or lower the ROAS goal so that your campaign can continue to spend money and get more conversion events. Now, again, the same problem here is if you're increasing your CPA goal, you will probably not be profitable anymore. And I think this is the problem for most businesses. You already set your cost per sold goal to a point where that's the maximum you can actually afford. And same for the ROAS goal. You can just simply not afford to have a lower ROAS goal than that. So again, it goes back to what I just talked about. You need to pull those 3 levers: the offer, the creative, and the landing page. Now, this is the section where I disagree with Meta. So they're talking about changing the optimization event for your ad set. So instead of optimizing for purchases, they say, as an example here, you can optimize for add to cart. Now, this is something I strongly disagree with, because you want to always optimize for what you actually want, because there is going to be a difference between the people that actually add to cart limited and the people that go ahead and purchase. Another really important point here is that learning limited and the learning phase is not necessarily that important. In a lot of our accounts, we've actually seen pretty good results and profitable results while being in learning limited. Now, I have one theory for why Meta is so focused on the learning limited and getting out of the learning phase. I think it's simply because they want you to spend more money. We also see this in Google Ads. They're always telling us to spend more to get more results, even if it doesn't result in more profitability for our business. And besides that, when you're optimizing for the purchase event, which is the conversion event that you actually want, the algorithm is still taking into account the people that add to cart. So it will still use that data in order to optimize. You don't need to have that as your main objective for the campaign in order to get better results. So I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, I would highly appreciate that you leave a like and maybe a comment below. And if you want to get the ad set budget finder, you can click the link in the description of the video and I'll just simply send that right to your inbox so you can use it for yourself. So thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.